It was the silence that haunted her the most. Anna sat frozen in the corner of her dimly lit bedroom, her back pressed against the cold wall. The clock ticked louder with each passing second, every tick echoing in the emptiness. She could hear his footsteps outside the door, deliberate and slow, like a predator circling its prey. Her pulse raced, her breath shallow. He was watching her, she knew it. "Are you going to sit in the dark all night?" His voice broke the silence, smooth and calm. But there was an edge to it, something sinister lurking beneath the surface. Anna didn't answer. She couldn't. She was too terrified to move. He entered, a smile on his face. Always that same charming, perfect smile. But in his eyes, there was nothing. No warmth, no empathy, just a cold void. "You have been so distant lately," he murmured, as if this were a mere inconvenience to him, rather than a reflection of the constant psychological warfare she had been enduring. His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Why don't you just tell me what's wrong, Anna?" he asked, stepping closer, his voice lowering, softening. "I can't help you if you don't speak, you know that, right?" But Anna knew better than to speak. She knew better than to show any vulnerability, because with him, any sign of weakness was a crack in the armor he would exploit. She had learned that the hard way. As the night unfolded, Anna's mind raced through a maze of memories, each one a subtle piece of puzzle she had not even realized was forming until now. There was the way he had always turned everything around on her, the gaslighting, the endless promises of change that never came, the countless times he had told her she was too emotional, too sensitive, too much. At first, it had seemed harmless, a trait of his that she had chalked up to an inflated ego. But then came the isolation, the manipulation, the slow erosion of her self-worth. She began questioning her own sanity. Was she too much? Was she too sensitive? Every small mistake she made was turned into an unforgivable sin. Every time she tried to stand up for herself, he had a way of twisting the narrative, making her feel like the problem. It was a constant cycle, a slow, suffocating spiral that no one could see but her. As she sat there, trapped in that dark room, she realized something chilling. She was not just afraid of him, she was afraid of losing herself completely, of becoming nothing more than an extension of his desires and whims. And that thought alone sent a cold shiver down her spine. The air grew heavier with each passing minute. Her heartbeat quickened. The room felt smaller. He had closed the distance between them now, standing right in front of her, towering over her with that mask of perfection. "I don't understand you, Anna," he said, his voice like honey, though his words were sharp. "Why do you keep pushing me away? I'm the best thing that has ever happened to you." The gaslighting had reached its peak. She looked into his eyes, searching for any hint of the man she had once loved. But there was nothing, just the void. I'm not pushing you away," she whispered, though even she was not sure anymore. Had she been, or had he simply worn her down until she no longer knew what was real? He took her silence as an invitation. His fingers grazed her arm in a way that should have been comforting, but it only felt cold. "It's okay, you'll see," he whispered, his lips brushing against her hair. "You'll see that this is all your fault in the end." Suddenly, The weight of everything hit her. The isolation, the psychological torment, the twisted way he manipulated every single situation to make her doubt herself. It had been gradual, so gradual that she had not even realized it first. The gaslighting, the subtle threats, the manipulation. He had stripped her of everything: her confidence, her self-worth, and her belief in her own sanity. Now she felt like a mere shell of the person she once was. But then, in a fleeting moment of clarity, she realized something that made her blood run cold. He was not the only one who could wear a mask. With trembling hands, Anna stood up, forcing herself to face him. The man she had once adored, the man who now stood before her like a monster wearing the skin of a lover. "I'm not crazy, and I'm not the one who needs fixing," she whispered. Though her voice trembled, "It's you." The room fell silent. His expression flickered just for a second before his mask snapped back into place. "Don't say that," he said, his voice a threat. "You know I'm the only one who understands you. I'm the only one who cares." But the realization had already set in. She was no longer the victim. She was no longer his to control. As she stepped away from him for the first time in years, Anna felt the weight on her chest begin to lift. This was it. She was not going to let him continue to haunt her. With one final defiant glance, she turned and walked out of the door, leaving behind the man who had stolen her sanity, but never her soul. The scariest part about living with a narcissist is not the obvious control they exert. It's how slowly, subtly, and completely they can change you until you don't even recognize yourself anymore. But sometimes the hardest step is realizing that you still can.